हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय चैनल। आज हम करेंगे अरबिंदो, श्री अरबिंदो, उनकी पोइट्री के बारे में पढ़ेंगे। उनके बारे में इस वीडियो में आज हम पढ़ेंगे। लेट अस स्टार्ट नाउ। श्री अरबिंदो रैंक्स अमंग द ग्रेटेस्ट पर्सनैलिटी ऑफ मॉडर्न इंडिया. He was a multifaceted genius as a political revolutionary, social reformer, historian, educationist, philosopher, yogi, and above all, man of letters. His range is truly astonishing. He was a journalist, editor, literary critic, linguist, translator, essayist, short story writer, dramatist, and more than all of these, Mahakavi or great poet. His was an extraordinarily supple intellect, a breadth of mind so extensive that there is scarcely an important field of human endeavor. Endeavor means skill या जो भी वो करते हैं, aim है ना, या attempt, which escaped his notice. His collected works, numbering 30 quartos, are ample testimony of his stupendous achievement. He was truly a Renaissance man, not only in the traditional sense of the term, but also befitting its application to the Indian context. A man who stands with the likes of Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. Shri Aurobindo's life may be divided into 4 periods based on the major location of residence, namely England, Baroda, Calcutta, and Pondicherry. He was born on August 15, 1872, into a westernized upper middle class Bengali family, the son of Krishnadhan and Swarnlata Ghosh. In 1879, at the age of 7, he was taken to England to be educated there with his brothers. He lived first in Manchester, then in London, where he attended St. Paul's School from 1884 to 1890, and finally at Cambridge, where he held a senior classical fellowship at King's College, Cambridge University. A brilliant student, he was especially proficient in classics, securing a first division in the classical tripos. He also passed with distinction the written entrance exam to the prestigious Indian Civil Service, but did not enter the service because he repeatedly failed to appear for the writing test. Clearly, his heart was not set on serving the British government in India. Instead, he obtained an appointment with the Maharaja of Baroda and set sail to return to India in January 1893. That marked the end of phase 1 of Shri Aurobindo's life. When he returned to India, he hardly knew any Indian language, though he was proficient in Greek and Latin, acquainted with French, and, of course, expert in English, having written a volume of poetry in it. The Baroda period lasts for 13 years, until 1906. This is generally considered a phase of preparation and growth for his later work. Shri Aurobindo held various posts in Baroda service, including Professor of English and Vice Principal of Baroda College. Here he tried to regain contact with his Indian heritage through a program of rigorous scholarship. He studied Sanskrit and several modern Indian languages, including Bengali, his mother tongue, and gained a deep insight into Indian culture and civilization. The publication of some of his early poetry, such as Songs to Mirtila and Urvasi, took place during this period. Towards the end of the Baroda stint, Shri Aurobindo began participating in 2 activities that would be crucial to his later life, namely politics and yoga. A particularly important year was 1901, in which he was married to Mrinalini Bose. During this year, he also experienced his first definite spiritual realizations, which was reflected in some of poems and reminiscences. These transforming experiences came to a head in 1908, when, under the guidance of a yogi called Vishnu Bhaskar Lele, Shri Aurobindo achieved the silencing of his mind. In 1906, Shri Aurobindo left Baroda to join the newly formed National Congress College in Calcutta, thus inaugurating his briefer but crucial Calcutta phase. His political activities, which had begun as early as 1902, when he met Lokmanya Tilak at the Ahmedabad session of Congress, continued most vigorously in Calcutta, wherein Bande Matram, his influential periodical, he attacked British imperialism. In 1907, he was prosecuted for sedition but acquitted. The next year, 1908, was in many ways one of the most important in his life. That year, he was arrested and detained on suspicion of revolutionary activities. During these 12 months, he underwent further spiritual experiences, including the experience of comic consciousness. After a year in detention, he was acquitted following a stormy and celebrated trial in which he was defended free of charge by the famous lawyer and politician Chitranjan Das. In 1901, he retired to French Chandra Nagur, and on hearing that a third prosecution was to be launched against him, set sail for Pondicherry in the south. Eventually, this prosecution too failed, and Shri Aurobindo found himself a free man. Though initially he had not entirely given up political activity, he was never again to return to British India or to politics. He continued living in Pondicherry until his death in 1950. In 1914, on 15th August, his birthday, he began the publication of Arya, a periodical in which the original version of most of his famous works, such as The Life Divine, The Synthesis of Yoga, The Secret of the Veda, and so on, appeared. He also wrote poetry, criticism, drama, translated extensively from Sanskrit and other Indian languages during these early years in Pondicherry. For all these first 10 years and so, Shri Aurobindo lived in a small rented house with only a few disciples. But the arrival in 1920 of Meera Richard, or the mother as she was known afterwards, changed that. The mother took charge of Shri Aurobindo's household, gradually building up the extensive and superbly organized Shri Aurobindo Ashram, which is internationally renowned today. In November 1926, after some decisive spiritual experiences, Shri Aurobindo withdrew almost totally into solitude. His aim was to hasten the evolution of human consciousness by bringing down the supermind, the higher plane of consciousness, so that all of humankind could benefit. Shri Aurobindo's seclusion ended 12 years later in 1938 after he suffered an accident. Thereafter, he saw a selected group of people, including some doctors. For the next 14 years and so, Shri Aurobindo continued his literary and spiritual activities, living mostly in seclusion, but guiding his rapidly growing number of disciples through yearly darshanas and an extensive correspondence. Shri Aurobindo died on December 5, 1950, 3 years after India achieved its independence in 1947, on August 15, his birthday. An introduction to Aurobindo's work. Shri Aurobindo's complete work were collected and edited in the 30-volume Shri Aurobindo Birth Centenary Library. The bibliography of primary works in volume 30 lists 101 books by Shri Aurobindo in English, published during his lifetime and afterwards. Out of these, the following, in chronological order, are collections of poems written originally in English: Songs of Mirtila, Urvashi, Baji Prabhu, Chitrangada, Ahana and other poems, Love and Death, 6 poems of Shri Aurobindo, poems, collected poems in Blaze, poems past and present, last poem Savitri, more poems Alien. Now we are talking about the just wait issues in Shri Aurobindo's poetry. Clearly, Shri Aurobindo is not an easy poet to comprehend. A lot of work needs to go into trying to come to terms with him. The modernist poets have consistently attacked his poetry. Lal divided readers into those who liked Shri Aurobindo and those who can't stand him. Arvind Krishna Mehrotra in his anthology says words to the effect that Shri Aurobindo spent most of his life composing a worthless epic of 24,000 lines. On the other hand, there are devoted readers of Shri Aurobindo who read his works as they would a sacred text. Some people don't leave home without reading a few lines of Shri Aurobindo from Savitri every day, each day. In terms of critical responses, no other poet has attracted as much attention as Shri Aurobindo. इसमें हम ट्री भी कर लेते हैं, उनकी जो पोएम है अ ट्री रीड करेंगे हम पोएम को. अ ट्री बिसाइड्स द सैंडी रिवर बीच होल्ड्स अप इट्स टॉपमोस्ट बाउज लाइक फिंगर्स टूवर्ड्स द skies they cannot reach, earth bound, heaven amorous. This is the soul of man, body and brain, hungry for earth, our heavenly flight detain. This is one of Shri Aurobindo's early poems. It is only 6 lines long with 2 stanzas. The first is a quatrain with the rhyme scheme ABAB followed by a couplet. Though deceptively simple, this poem contains the perfect example of Shri Aurobindo's philosophy. What does the poem say? क्या बोल रही है poem? It says that a tree besides a sandy bank stretches its branches heavenwards. It is earthbound, heaven amorous. That is, though it is fixed to the ground with its roots in the soil, it actually reaches upward and towards the sky. The couplet derives home the significance of the image. The human soul is just like this tree. Our body and brain are so grounded, so earthy that they रोक देते हैं, detain कर देते हैं our heavenly flight. Notice the slight difference in the manner in which the tree and the human being are portrayed. While the tree is seen in positive terms, in terms of its aspiration, the human being is seen somewhat negatively, his body and brain detaining his upward rise. Unlike the tree, the human being is almost being blamed for this urge to remain bound and limited. This poem contains the seed of Shri Aurobindo's philosophy. Shri Aurobindo sees us as divided being, one part of us happy with our present attainments, another thirsting for higher things. उसके बाद हम करेंगे पोएम डेथ एंड लाइफ एंड डेथ. ये भी छोटी सी पोएम है. लाइफ डेथ, death life, the words have led for ages. Our thought and consciousness and firmly seemed two opposites, but now long hidden pages are opened, liberating truths undreamed. Life only is, or death is life disguised. Life a short death, until by life we are surprised. This is another short poem with a structure that is similar to a tree, quatrain and a couplet. But the later means couplet जो है is not separated or set off from the former. मतलब couplet और quatrain जो है वो साथ साथ में ही है, ये couplet को अलग नहीं किया गया है. The rhyme scheme is also similar, ABABCC. And similar is the attempt to reconcile two opposites. दो opposite life and death को reconcile किया है. Shri Aurobindo says that the two have been regarded as antinomies. Antinomies means opposite for ages, thus shaping our thought. मतलब दोनों चीज़ें अलग ही है ना, डेथ और बोलते हैं ना जन्म एंड मृत्यु. But now he has access to new wisdom, as it were. Long hidden pages are opened, liberating truth undreamed. What is this long hidden truth that Shri Aurobindo has discovered? क्या है? In this इट इज़ दिस लाइफ, लाइफ ओनली इज़, और डेथ इज़ लाइफ डिस्गाइज्ड, ऐसा बोला गया है ना पोएम में. Life only is because this idea is somewhat easier to understand. In this part of the line, Shri Aurobindo asserts that there is no death at all. Everything is only life. Death कुछ है ही नहीं, सब कुछ life ही है. Then he qualifies himself a little by admitting that if there is death at all, it is merely life disguised. Life itself masquerading as death. Life ने ही मतलब डेथ का चेहरा पहन के रखा हुआ है. मीन्स लाइफ ही है, डेथ कुछ भी नहीं है. दिस इज़ अ प्रोफाउंड अट्रेंस बिकॉज इट विल, इफ टेकन सीरियसली, ऑल टुगेदर चेंज आवर एटीट्यूड टू लाइफ. इफ देर इज़ नो डेथ एट ऑल, देन ऑल ऑफ अस आर इमॉर्टल. क्लियरली दिस वुड सीम टू गो अगेंस्ट आवर नॉर्मल एक्सपीरियंसेस. हम तो बोलते हैं ना हम मॉर्टल हैं, लेकिन अरबिंदो बोलते थे कि हम इमॉर्टल हैं, हम कभी मरते ही नहीं हैं. जैसे होता है ना, आत्मा कभी मरती नहीं है. We do see people dying. They are to all appearances take away from our midst forever. हमारे बीच से वो हमेशा के लिए चले जाते हैं. But is this really true? How do we know that they are really dead? Perhaps they have passed from one kind of life to another. ऐसा तो है ही. वो अरबिंदो भी यही बोलते थे ना कि आत्मा नहीं मरती है ना. That is what the second half of the line implies. Death is life disguised. That what appears to be death is another kind of life. In Savitri too, at the climactic moment in the epic, it is death itself which reveals its true face as the supreme lord of life and delight. But in this brief poem, it is really the last line that packs the punch. It contains a radical reversal of the relationship between life and death. Earlier, it was death which was sought to be banished, or rather redefined in terms of life. Now, the life that we consider to be the ultimate reality is itself seen as a sort of death, a short one, until we are surprised by another kind of life. That is, what we might consider the afterlife and the before life is much vaster and greater than this short duration on earth that we know as life. If our visions were so to expand, surely we might discover that eternity which nestles in the bosom of time. This at any rate is what the poem says to me. थैंक यू सो मच. नेक्स्ट वीडियो में हम करेंगे ब्राइड ऑफ फायर एंड द गोल्डन नाइट. थैंक यू.